It was almost midnight when Manhattan's skyline glimmered against the glass walls of the Whitakers' penthouse. The city never slept, but that night, Lena Brooks wished the world would stop spinning for just one moment. 6 months pregnant, her back ached, her hands swollen, yet her mind was restless. She waited for her husband, Graham Whitaker, the billionaire tech investor adored by Forbes and envied by Wall Street. He had texted earlier, "Board dinner at the plaza, don't wait up." But something about the message felt cold, rehearsed. Unable to shake the unease, Lena went down to the private garage. The air smelled faintly of engine oil and luxury perfume. Graham's black Mercedes S-Class sat under the soft LED light like a sleeping predator. She opened the door to grab his jacket. It was chilly, and she always left one for him after long meetings. When her hand reached into the glove compartment, something caught her eye. A silver packet glimmered under the dim light. She pulled it out, then froze. One condom, then another, then another. 5 in total, lined neatly as if someone had placed them there on purpose. Her heart pounded. For a second, she told herself it couldn't mean what she thought it meant. Maybe the car belonged to an assistant before? Maybe it was a prank? But the Mercedes was brand new. She had chosen the model with him last fall at the dealership on Park Avenue. She felt her stomach twist. The baby kicked. A sweet, expensive scent lingered on the passenger seat, something floral, not hers. She leaned closer. A strand of long blonde hair gleamed against the dark leather. Her phone buzzed. A notification from Apple CarPlay popped up on the dashboard. "See you at L'Atelier." The message wasn't meant for her. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She covered her mouth, trying not to sob. The city lights blurred through her tears, like the entire skyline was mocking her. She whispered, "Not again. Please, not again." Memories of her mother's heartbreak flashed back. The same silence before betrayal, the same fake charm. She had promised herself she'd never live that kind of pain. Yet here she was, pregnant, alone, inside a car that smelled of deceit. Her hands trembled as she stuffed the condoms back inside. For a second, something dark crossed her mind. Something reckless. Her eyes darted to the trunk, where Graham kept his gym bag. The acid cleaner he used for the car chrome sat there, half full. A part of her, a hurt, vengeful part, wanted to destroy him right then, to make him feel what betrayal tasted like. But another voice, soft, rational, the mother's voice whispered, "Think of the baby." She sank into the driver's seat, clutching her belly. "It's okay, sweetheart," she murmured. "Mommy's not going to lose control." The elevator doors opened with a faint chime. Footsteps echoed against the marble floor. She wiped her tears quickly, heart thundering. Graham's reflection appeared on the shiny black hood before she saw him. Tall, composed, perfectly dressed in his custom Dior suit, he walked toward her with that billionaire calm, the kind that hides everything. "Still up?" he asked lightly, as if nothing had happened. Lena looked up, her face pale but steady. The sound of her pulse drowned the silence. In that moment, under the cold light of the garage, she realized this was no misunderstanding. This was the night her life and his would change forever. "Yes," she said quietly, "I'm awake now." Cliffhanger. Graham's eyes flicked to the glove compartment and froze. The elevator door closed behind him, and Lena stood there frozen in the garage, her mind spinning. She barely remembered how she made it upstairs to the penthouse. Every light in the apartment seemed too bright, every sound too loud. The city glittered outside the window, mocking her with its perfect skyline. When Graham finally walked in, he tossed his Dior jacket on the sofa, loosened his Mont Blanc tie, and smiled like nothing had happened. "Why are you up this late?" he asked, pouring himself a glass of Macallan. His tone was gentle, practiced, too smooth. Lena tried to keep her voice steady. "I went down to the car. I found something." He looked up lazily. "What kind of something?" "Condoms, Graham. 5 of them." He froze for half a second, just half, and then chuckled. "Lena, you're pregnant. You're hormonal. They're old, probably from before we bought the car." Her chest tightened. "It's a new car. I ordered it with you." He took a sip of his drink. "Then the dealership must have—" "Stop." Her voice cracked. "Just stop lying." For a long moment there was silence. Then Graham set his glass down and said coldly, "You really should rest. Stress isn't good for the baby." It felt like a knife disguised as concern. Lena didn't sleep that night. When dawn touched the skyline, she called the only person she trusted, her sister, Maya. Maya arrived an hour later, her hair in a bun, wearing a gray business suit. She looked at Lena's swollen eyes and didn't ask for details. "Show me," she said. Down in the garage, Lena handed her the small packet. Maya held it with a tissue, inspecting it like evidence. "You didn't touch anything else, right?" "No, I almost did something stupid." Maya's gaze softened. "What kind of stupid?" Lena hesitated. "The acid in the trunk, for the car chrome." Maya's face went pale. "Oh God, Lena, listen to me, never again. You'd ruin your life. His too, maybe, but especially yours." Tears welled in Lena's eyes. "He's cheating on me while I'm carrying his child." "I know, and that's exactly why you need to be smart. Emotion is his weapon. Logic will be yours." Maya pulled out her phone. "I'll contact a private investigator, someone who's worked with my firm. If Graham's lying, we'll get proof." "I don't want revenge," Lena whispered. "I just want the truth." "Then we'll get it, but legally, cleanly." Maya opened her briefcase and took out a small notepad. "Write down everything you've seen, time, date, details, even smells, texts, or odd behavior. These things matter." As Lena wrote, her hands trembled. The scent of Graham's cologne still lingered in her mind. She wanted to scream to hit something, but Maya's calm presence anchored her. "Listen," Maya said softly. "Men like Graham think their money protects them. But the law protects you if you play it right. You've got the prenup. Clause 14, infidelity voids spousal protection." Lena blinked. "So if I prove it, you'll keep the assets, the house, full custody. But don't rush. Be invisible. Let him think you're broken." Lena looked up, confused. "Why?" "Because guilty men get careless when they think you're weak." For the first time since the discovery, Lena felt something spark inside her, not rage, but focus. Maya placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You'll win this, Lena, but not with acid, with evidence." The sisters stood in silence, the hum of the garage filling the air. Then Lena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number appeared. "He's not at the plaza tonight. He's with her. Want proof?" Maya read over her shoulder, eyes narrowing. "Who sent that?" Before Lena could answer, a short video file began to download, slowly, painfully, showing Graham's unmistakable figure walking hand in hand with a blonde woman through a Soho hotel entrance. Maya exhaled sharply. "That's your proof." Lena's knees buckled. Maya caught her before she fell. Cliffhanger. The video ended with Graham turning toward the camera, looking straight into the lens, as if he knew they were watching. Morning sunlight spilled through the penthouse windows, painting gold streaks across the marble floor. To anyone passing by, the Whitakers' home looked like a picture of perfection. A billion-dollar view, a designer couch, 2 cups of untouched espresso on the glass table. But inside, the air was heavy, too still, like a storm waiting to break. Lena stood by the window, one hand on her belly, the other gripping her phone. The video Maya had shown her replayed in her mind on a loop. Graham, tall and confident, holding another woman's hand under the soft glow of a Soho hotel sign. He didn't look nervous, he looked comfortable. When the elevator chimed, she turned. Graham walked in, crisp in his tailored suit, holding his Mont-Blanc briefcase as if nothing in the world could touch him. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, leaning to kiss her. She flinched. His lips hovered, confused. "What's wrong now?" "Don't," she whispered. "I saw you." He blinked, smiling faintly. "Saw me? Where?" "At the hotel in Soho, with her." His jaw tightened for half a second, then relaxed into a smirk. "Lena, someone sent you a fake video. You know how easy it is to edit these days. Deep fakes, AI. Don't insult me." Her voice trembled but didn't break. "That was you. The way you walk, the way you hold her hand. I know every detail." He sighed and set his briefcase down. "You've been under a lot of stress." "It's normal for pregnant women to imagine things. Maybe it's postpartum anxiety." Her stomach turned. "You think I'm crazy?" "I think you're tired," he said smoothly. "And maybe you should talk to Dr. Lewis again. He can prescribe something." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "You think a pill will fix betrayal?" Graham rubbed his temple. "You're being dramatic. Why would I cheat? Look around you." He gestured toward the skyline, the art, the luxury. "You have everything you've ever wanted. Isn't that enough?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Not if I don't have honesty." For a moment, his expression cracked. Then he picked up a checkbook from the counter, scribbled something, and tore out a page. "Here," he said, sliding it across the table. $50,000. Hire help. Buy something for the baby. Calm down." Lena stared at the paper, her hand trembling. You think you can buy silence? I'm thinking about your comfort, he said, his tone low, rehearsed. If you want to rest somewhere else for a while, I can arrange it. Maybe go stay with Maya for a few weeks. A little space might help. She looked up, her eyes darkening. You just want me gone before your gala. He didn't deny it. Instead, he poured himself another drink, the amber liquid swirling under the morning light. I can't afford a scandal right now. The foundation launch is next week, and investors are watching. So please, Lena, don't make a scene. Her chest heaved. You're afraid of losing money, not me. He set the glass down and met her eyes coldly. At this point, I'm afraid of losing both. Something inside her cracked, not loudly, but deeply. She realized the man she married, the man who once made her laugh over coffee in Brooklyn, was gone. In his place stood a stranger made of ego and glass. She wiped her tears, her voice steady now. Don't worry, Graham, I won't ruin your image. You're doing that yourself. He chuckled, though his eyes flickered with unease. You always had a flair for drama. Maybe write a book about this someday. I just might, she said, walking past him. As she reached the bedroom door, her phone vibrated again. A message flashed from an unknown number. He's not done tonight. Same hotel, 8 p.m. Lena's breath caught. She looked over her shoulder. Graham was checking his watch, adjusting his cufflinks, already lost in his reflection. Cliffhanger. When he left the room, Lena whispered to herself, then neither am I. The following morning, sunlight spilled into the penthouse like nothing had happened. The city buzzed far below, oblivious to the war happening inside one woman's chest. Lena stood barefoot in the kitchen, wearing Graham's old t-shirt, her hair messy, her face pale. The espresso machine hissed, filling the air with the scent of roasted beans, but she couldn't drink. Her stomach turned every time she thought about him. She looked at the clock. 8:45 a.m. Graham had already left for his meeting. His Mont Blanc pen was gone, his Rolex missing from the nightstand. Everything looked normal. Everything except her heart. The penthouse felt too large, too quiet. The soft hum of the air conditioning mocked her. She walked through the glass hallway leading to the nursery, still unfinished. The wallpaper samples were scattered across the floor, baby blue and ivory. The tiny crib they'd ordered from Paris stood half-assembled. Lena knelt down, her hands tracing the small blanket embroidered with the name they had chosen, Elliot. Her throat tightened. She whispered, "You deserve a father who tells the truth." Her phone buzzed on the dresser, an email notification from the shared account she and Graham used for bills and travel. She opened it absently, expecting a receipt or invoice. Instead, the subject line froze her blood. Your Tiffany & Co. custom order has been confirmed. She clicked it open. Item, 18K gold bracelet, engraved to SC Forever, GW. Her hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. SC, she didn't need to guess. It was Sloane Carter, the woman in the video. Her vision blurred with tears. She walked to the living room window overlooking Central Park, the skyline stretching endlessly under the gray sky. She used to love that view. Now it just looked like a cage. Maya called right then. Hey, how are you holding up? Lena swallowed hard. He ordered her jewelry, Tiffany, engraved. Maya cursed under her breath. Okay, listen to me. Don't confront him yet. Let the investigator gather everything first. We're building a case, not a scandal. Lena's voice cracked. How can I stay here and pretend? Because that's exactly what he expects you not to do, Maya said firmly. Play along. Smile if you have to. The more calm you seem, the more careless he'll get. Lena exhaled shakily. It's killing me. I know, but you're not alone. After the call ended, the silence returned, thicker than before. She tried to distract herself by sketching, a habit from before her pregnancy. She opened her MacBook Pro, launched her design app, and began drawing the nursery layout. Colors, patterns, dimensions. Each line steadied her heartbeat just a little. As hours passed, the city dimmed outside. Street lights flickered, taxis honked below. The world kept turning while hers stood still. At 7 p.m., Graham texted, "Dinner with investors. Don't wait up. No heart emoji. No love you. Just business as usual." Lena stared at the message for a long time. Then she looked down at her belly, gently rubbing it. He's already chosen who to come home to, hasn't he? The baby kicked softly, as if answering her. A tear rolled down her cheek, but her expression hardened. The sadness was still there, but underneath it, something else began to grow. Resolve. She walked to Graham's office. On his desk sat the silver-framed wedding photo from Maui, the day she thought love could conquer anything. She picked it up, stared at it, then turned it face down. Her eyes fell on the corner of the desk, a faint lipstick stain on a coffee cup, not hers. Pale pink, expensive. She smiled bitterly. You're not even trying to hide it anymore. Outside, thunder rumbled. Rain began to streak the windows, city lights melting into blurred trails. Lena whispered into the quiet room, "You wanted a perfect life, Graham. Let's see how perfect it feels when the truth comes out." Cliffhanger. Her phone chimed again. A new email from the investigator. "We have her name, her address, and their next meeting spot. Do you want to see it?" The rain had barely stopped when Lena met her sister Maya at the River Cafe in Brooklyn, a quiet spot overlooking the East River. The restaurant glowed softly under the twinkling Manhattan Bridge lights. She hadn't been outside in days, and the fresh air almost hurt her lungs. The city across the water shimmered like another planet, one where people didn't lie, one where her life had never cracked in half. Maya was already seated near the window, her phone and notepad beside a half-empty cappuccino. Beside her sat a tall man in a charcoal suit, mid-30s, with calm gray eyes and the kind of composure that comes from surviving wars of a different kind. "Lena, this is Ethan Reed," Maya said, rising to hug her. "He's a client. Used to work with one of Graham's companies before he left for his own fund." Lena shook his hand politely. His grip was firm but kind. "Thank you for meeting me." "Of course," Ethan said. "Maya told me a little. I'm sorry you're going through this. Men like Graham." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "They think money buys silence." Lena looked down at her tea. "It almost did. He offered me $50,000 to stay calm." Ethan's jaw tightened. "That sounds like him." Maya opened her folder, sliding a few photos across the table. These came from the investigator. Graham's been meeting the same woman, Sloane Carter. PR consultant, Beverly Hills. They met during a brand event 3 months ago. Lena looked at the photos. Graham and Sloane exiting a black car together, his hand on her waist, his smile effortless. It felt like a dagger turning slowly in her chest. "I can't believe I married a man who looked at me like that once," she whispered. Ethan studied her quietly, his tone soft but grounded. "Believe it, because the man you married existed, until he chose not to. Power changes people, especially men who think they built their empires alone." Maya leaned forward. "We'll keep collecting evidence, legally. I've already locked his accounts tied to your joint prenup. If he transfers assets, we'll freeze them." Lena nodded weakly. "And what do I do until then? Pretend?" "Yes," Maya said firmly. "Pretend you don't know a thing. Let him dig his own grave." Ethan's gaze didn't leave her face. "That's hard, I know. But silence is louder than rage, especially in a city full of people watching for weakness." Lena met his eyes, something in his calm voice grounding her. "You speak like you've been through this," he smiled faintly. "Not marriage, but I've built companies with snakes. I learned that the best revenge is never loud, it's documented." Maya smirked. "That's why I called him. He's good with strategy." They talked for an hour, about asset protection, about timing, about staying composed. For the first time since the night in the garage, Lena felt like she wasn't drowning. When they left, the wind carried the faint scent of the river and rain-soaked metal. Ethan walked them to the valet, his umbrella tilted over Lena more than himself. "You should get out of the penthouse soon," he said. "Not permanently, just somewhere safe in case he suspects anything." "I'll be fine," Lena replied, though her voice wavered. Ethan hesitated. "You remind me of my sister. She went through something similar. Don't let the pain turn you into someone you're not." Lena managed a small smile. "Thank you, Ethan. I don't even know you, but somehow I trust you." He looked at her for a long moment before answering. "That's because I'm not lying to you." Maya cleared her throat, breaking the brief silence. "I'll call you tomorrow, Lena. We'll go over the next steps." They parted at the curb. Lena climbed into her Uber, watching Ethan walk away through the misty glow of the streetlights. There was something about his steadiness that felt foreign, like hope she wasn't ready to hold yet. As the car crossed the bridge, her phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number appeared. "He's reserving a suite at the Ritz-Carlton, Thursday. Bring your proof." Her hands trembled. The city lights blurred outside the window, reflecting in her eyes like broken glass. Cliffhanger. She whispered to herself, "You wanted to play with fire, Graham. Let's see who burns first." The next morning, Manhattan was cold and gray, the kind of day that made even luxury feel lonely. Lena sat on the couch, clutching a cup of tea she hadn't touched. The air inside the penthouse felt stale, heavy with unspoken words. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "We have a plan. Meet me in my office at noon. Bring no one." Lena arrived an hour later at Maya's sleek law firm on Park Avenue. The lobby smelled faintly of polished wood and expensive perfume. Maya greeted her with a firm hug, then guided her into a glass conference room overlooking the skyline. Waiting inside was a man in his 50s, calm, sharp-eyed, wearing a navy suit. "Lena, this is Private Investigator Richard Johnson," Maya said. "He's the best in New York when it comes to high-profile marital cases. Discreet, legal." Johnson nodded politely. "Mrs. Whitaker, I've reviewed what we have. Video, photos, receipts. It's strong, but not bulletproof. If your husband's legal team gets aggressive, they'll claim it's all circumstantial." Lena frowned. "So we need something stronger?" "Physical proof," he said simply. "Not just what he did, but when and where." Maya leaned forward. "Richard has a method, completely lawful, but very effective." Johnson opened his briefcase and set a small vial on the table, filled with a faintly glowing blue liquid. "This," he said, "is a UV-reactive gel. Harmless, odorless, used in forensic training. It transfers on contact and glows under ultraviolet light for up to 72 hours. It's accepted in court as trace evidence of physical contact." Lena stared at the vial. "You mean, if he touches her, it'll show?" Johnson nodded. "Exactly. You don't have to do anything illegal. The substance isn't toxic, it's like invisible ink. I can apply it to the items he keeps with him, or the ones in his car." Maya added quietly, "Like the condoms you found." Lena's stomach tightened. The memory of that night still burned. "You want to mark them?" Johnson nodded again. "Just enough for verification. If he uses them, we'll know. I can also coordinate with the hotel staff, legally. They'll confirm who checks into the suite." Lena hesitated, torn between fear and resolve. "Isn't this extreme?" Maya reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "So is betraying a pregnant wife. This way no one gets hurt. It's clean, controlled, and undeniable." Lena looked at the skyline through the glass wall. Clouds swallowed the sun. "I just want to protect my baby, and the truth." "That's all this does," Johnson said. "The truth leaves fingerprints." They finalized the plan quickly. Johnson would access the Mercedes that evening, apply the UV gel, and monitor the next 72 hours through his contacts at the Ritz-Carlton, where Graham was rumored to meet Sloane again. Before leaving, Lena asked softly, "Will he ever know I did this?" Johnson smiled faintly. "Only if he's guilty." Later that night, back in the penthouse, Lena paced the living room as rain tapped against the windows. Graham hadn't returned yet. His text said he was working late. She stopped in front of the nursery door. The faint blue glow from the baby monitor cast gentle shadows on the half-painted walls. She placed a hand on her belly and whispered, "This isn't revenge, it's protection." At midnight, her phone vibrated. It was Johnson. The message was brief. "Done. Watch the clock. He's booked the Ritz-Carlton suite for 9 p.m. tomorrow." Lena exhaled slowly, her body trembling. She walked to the balcony, the cold wind brushing her face. Below her, Manhattan pulsed with life, unaware that one of its golden suns was about to be exposed. Her eyes hardened with quiet determination. "You built this empire on lies," she murmured. "Let's see how fast it crumbles." Cliffhanger. Her phone lit up again. This time not from Johnson but from Graham. "Stay home tomorrow night? You need rest." The next day dawned gray and cold, the kind of Manhattan morning that seeps into your bones. Lena woke to an empty bed and a note on the nightstand in Graham's sharp handwriting. "Board meeting. Back late. Don't wait up." She stared at it for a long moment, her eyes burning. His lies now had stationery. She got up slowly, feeling the weight of her 6-month belly as she moved. Every sound in the penthouse seemed amplified. The ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, her own shallow breathing. She tried to eat breakfast, but the thought of food made her nauseous. The stress was becoming physical, clawing through her chest like an invisible hand. By mid-morning, she felt dizzy, her vision blurred for a second. Panic rose in her throat. She grabbed her phone and called her doctor. "Come in immediately," the nurse said. "Don't drive yourself." 30 minutes later, she sat in the exam room at Lenox Hill Hospital, wearing the paper gown, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. The doctor frowned gently as he checked her blood pressure. "Lena, your readings are high. You need to rest," he said softly. "Stress can cause serious complications at this stage, especially for the baby." Her voice cracked. "I can't seem to stop thinking." He gave a sympathetic smile. "Then change what you're thinking about. Focus on the child, not the chaos." As the doctor left, she lay back, staring at the ceiling tiles. Her hand rested protectively on her belly. The baby kicked once, gently, as if sensing her pain. Tears slid down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, little one," she whispered. "I'll protect you, no matter what." When she stepped outside, it was raining again. Thin, cold rain that painted the sidewalks silver. She hailed a cab and leaned against the window as the city passed by in smudged colors. She felt like a ghost drifting through her own life. Her phone buzzed. A message from Graham. "Dinner with investors tonight. Big night for the foundation. Proud of you for resting." Her lips twisted bitterly. "Proud of me," she muttered, "while he's with her." The cab stopped at a red light beside a Starbucks. A pregnant woman about her age crossed the street, laughing with her husband, their hands intertwined under the umbrella. The sight cut deep, proof that love could exist, just not in her world anymore. When she arrived home, Maya was waiting in the lobby, holding a small bag. "I brought you something," she said softly. Inside were prenatal vitamins, a stress relief candle, and a copy of Women Who Run with the Wolves. Lena's voice trembled. "You think a book can fix this?" Maya smiled gently. "No, but it can remind you that pain doesn't mean weakness. You're not broken, Lena. You're transforming." They went upstairs together. Maya helped her lie down, then made tea in the quiet kitchen. "Richard said he confirmed the hotel booking," Maya said carefully. "Tomorrow night, Suite 1803. Lena turned her face to the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. "He doesn't even hide it anymore." "Let him be careless," Maya replied. "Every careless move is another brick in your wall of proof." When Maya left, the apartment fell silent again. Lena opened the book her sister had brought. One line caught her eye. "A woman's instinct, once betrayed, becomes her greatest weapon." She closed the cover slowly. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, low and heavy. She could almost feel the shift in the air, the calm before a storm. At 10:42 p.m., her phone vibrated again. Another message from Graham. "Working late. Might stay downtown." Lena stared at the glowing screen, her reflection faint against the glass. "Stay downtown," she whispered, voice cold. "Just don't expect to stay whole." Cliffhanger. As she turned off the lights, a new message appeared from the investigator. "It's confirmed. They'll meet tomorrow at the Ritz-Carlton. Are you ready?" Morning sunlight hit the penthouse windows like shards of glass. Lena hadn't slept. She sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped in a silk robe, watching the city wake up beneath her. Every taxi horn, every siren felt like a countdown ticking closer to the truth. Tonight, Graham and his mistress would meet again at the Ritz-Carlton, and this time there would be proof. Her phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "The investigator just sent me something. You might want to sit down before you open it." Lena's stomach twisted. Her fingers trembled as she tapped the link. Dozens of photos loaded onto the screen, high resolution, time-stamped, unmistakable. There she was, the blonde woman from the video. Sloane Carter, 26, perfect hair, perfect smile, the kind of woman who never paid for her own cocktails. In one shot, she leaned against Graham's car outside a Soho restaurant, laughing. In another, her hand rested on his chest while he looked down at her with that same easy grin that used to belong to Lena. Lena's throat tightened. "Sloane Carter," she whispered, tasting the name like poison. She scrolled further. A final photo. The two of them entering the Ritz lobby together, his hand guiding her lower back like a claim. Her body went cold. She wanted to scream, to smash the phone, to burn the entire memory of his touch. But instead, she did what she had learned these last few days. She stayed still, controlled, quiet. Her phone chimed again. Another message from the investigator. "We confirmed the bracelet too. Tiffany & Co. Custom Engraving to SC Forever GW. Picked up 2 days ago." Lena closed her eyes. She could almost picture it. Graham's smug face as he handed over the iconic blue box, thinking money could disguise filth as love. She stood up slowly, walked to the mirror, and stared at herself. Her reflection looked like a stranger, eyes red, hair tangled, but stronger somehow. "He wanted a perfect wife," she said softly. "He created something else instead." The baby kicked. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered, "You and I will be fine." Later that morning, she met Maya and Ethan in a quiet cafe downtown. Maya laid out the photos on the table. Ethan said nothing for a long time, just studied the evidence with quiet fury. "This girl," Maya said, pointing to Sloane's face, "works in PR. She's after status, not love. He's her golden ticket." Ethan leaned back, his gray eyes cold. "Then let her enjoy the ride, before it crashes." Lena's voice shook. "How long do I have to keep pretending?" "Until he hands you everything without realizing it," Maya replied. Ethan looked at Lena. "You don't have to face him tonight. Let Johnson handle it." Lena shook her head. "No, I need to see it. I need to see who he becomes when he thinks I'm not watching." Maya sighed but didn't argue. "Just promise me one thing. Don't confront them. Not yet." "I promise," Lena said, though deep down she knew promises were fragile things. That evening she went home, pulled out the Tiffany receipt from the shared email, and printed it. The simple act steadied her breathing. She placed it inside her journal next to an ultrasound photo. Proof of 2 lives, one she was carrying, one she was ending. As twilight fell, the skyline glowed gold and violet. From the balcony she could see the Ritz-Carlton's lights glittering across the avenue. Somewhere behind those walls, her husband was preparing for his secret night. Her phone buzzed again, a photo from the investigator. Sloane stepping out of a black car in a tight red dress, her diamond earrings catching the light. The caption read, "She's here." Lena's pulse slowed. Oddly calm, she whispered, "Good, let him bury himself." Cliffhanger. A new photo appeared seconds later. Graham entering the suite elevator, holding the Tiffany bag. The timestamp, 8:59 p.m. The clock struck 9. Across Manhattan, in the shimmering heart of Fifth Avenue, the Ritz-Carlton pulsed with quiet luxury. Soft jazz in the lobby, the scent of white roses, guests in tailored suits and silk dresses drifting toward elevators. On the top floor, Suite 1803 waited, perfectly staged for betrayal. Private investigator Richard Johnson adjusted his cufflinks in the hallway, blending with the guests like any other businessman. The discreet UV detector rested in his pocket, disguised as a pen. He'd already been in the room earlier, checking the cameras, the lighting, the surfaces. The condoms Graham kept in his car, each marked with harmless UV gel, sat neatly in the bedside drawer. Everything was ready. At 9:06 p.m., the elevator doors opened. Graham Whitaker stepped out, dressed in a navy Tom Ford suit, his Rolex catching the chandelier's glow. He exuded confidence, the kind that only men with too many secrets could wear so easily. Beside him, Sloane Carter moved like she belonged to another world. Blonde hair, red lips, a perfume trail that could stop traffic. The bellhop opened the door for them. Graham tipped him without a glance, locking the suite behind them. Meanwhile, across the city, Lena sat alone on the balcony of the penthouse, the night air cool against her skin. The skyline shimmered, but she felt nothing. Her phone buzzed, a message from Johnson. "He's here." Suite confirmed. She stared at the text, her fingers trembling. She could end it now. Call him, confront him, ruin the charade. But instead, she typed 2 words back. "Proceed quietly." At the Ritz, Graham poured champagne into 2 crystal flutes. "To us," he said, handing one to Sloane. She smiled, swirling the glass. "You're really sure about this? About leaving her?" He laughed. "Lena's fragile. The pregnancy, it changed her. I need freedom, Sloane. You understand me?" Her smile faltered slightly. "And the baby?" He hesitated only a second. "I'll provide for it. That's all that matters." Sloane looked out the window, maybe realizing the kind of man she'd fallen for. But greed outweighed doubt. "Then here's to freedom," she said softly, clinking her glass to his. Downstairs, Johnson watched the hallway camera feed on his tablet. The UV mark would soon transfer. All he had to do was wait. At 9:37 p.m., Graham's phone buzzed. A message from Lena flashed briefly on the screen before he turned it face down. "I hope your meeting goes well." He smirked, tossing the phone aside. Hours seemed to crawl. Lena sat in the dark, her laptop open to a folder labeled Proof. Inside, every image, every receipt, every lie documented. Her reflection stared back at her, pale, strong, unrecognizable. "Let him play," she whispered. The curtains coming down. At 10:02 p.m., Johnson's detector glowed faintly. The invisible UV gel had transferred, clear evidence that Graham had touched the marked item. He noted the timestamp, took a discreet photo, and packed up. Everything was legal, clean, irrefutable. He texted Maya. Contact secured. Evidence confirmed. Meanwhile, inside the suite, Graham adjusted his cufflinks again, swaggering toward the minibar. "You know," he said casually, "I might announce the divorce after the gala. Public sympathy's on my side." Sloane raised an eyebrow. "You're confident," he grinned. "I'm untouchable." But as he said it, the skin on his hand tingled faintly, an odd sensation, warm at first, then sharp, stinging. He frowned, dismissing it. The air felt dry, electric. "Probably the champagne," he muttered, brushing it off. Across town, Lena's phone buzzed again. Johnson's final text came through. "Operation complete. He won't know yet, but he's been marked." She stared at the message, her lips curling into something between pain and relief. The storm had officially begun. She closed her laptop, whispering to the child inside her, "It's almost over." Cliffhanger. Back at the Ritz, Graham's smirk faded as he felt the sting spread up his arm. "What the hell?" he hissed, staring at his skin under the dim light, where a faint bluish glow began to appear. The faint glow on Graham's skin shimmered under the sweet, soft light. He frowned, rubbing his hand, confused. "Weird," he muttered, flexing his fingers. "Feels like it's burning." Sloane laughed lightly from the bed, wrapped in a satin robe, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. "Maybe it's the champagne," she teased. "Or maybe karma finally found you." He shot her a playful look, though unease flickered behind his grin. "Funny." He walked toward the bathroom, shaking his hand, but the burning spread, slow, sharp, undeniable. Within seconds, his palm turned red. "Jesus, what's happening?" Sloane's laughter died. "Graham, what's wrong?" He grabbed a towel, dabbing his skin, but the sensation only worsened. The heat climbed up his arm, crawling beneath his shirt. "It burns, what the hell?" Sloane stepped closer, but then she gasped. "Your skin, it's glowing." Under the bathroom's UV-lit mirror, faint bluish streaks shimmered like veins of light across his skin. Panic hit him. "Did you put something on me?" he barked. "What? No," she snapped, backing away. "You're scaring me." He stumbled to the sink, turning on the water, dousing his hand. The cold did nothing. The pain deepened, spreading to his lower abdomen, a searing sting that made him double over. Call someone," he groaned. Sloane froze. Then, realizing he was serious, she snatched her phone and dialed 911. Yes, it's an emergency. My boyfriend, he's in pain. He says he's burning." "No, I don't know why." By the time paramedics arrived, Graham was drenched in sweat, half conscious on the floor. The suite smelled faintly metallic, sharp. Sloane stood by the window, trembling, tears streaking her makeup. They loaded him onto a stretcher, his body jerking at every touch. "Sir, can you tell us what happened?" one paramedic asked. Graham hissed through his teeth. "I don't know, just fix it." At Lenox Hill Hospital, the doctors rushed him into emergency. The diagnosis came within the hour. Chemical burns, localized and severe. The UV-reactive gel had mixed with latex and moisture, creating a mild acidic reaction, harmless in normal conditions, but catastrophic in the most delicate places. When he woke in the recovery room, the pain was still there, dull, throbbing, humiliating. The doctor's voice was calm but heavy. "Mr. Whitaker, you're going to recover. But there's tissue damage, significant." Graham swallowed hard. "Meaning?" The doctor hesitated. "Permanent dysfunction. I'm sorry." His world collapsed in silence. The monitors beeped softly beside him, mocking his heartbeat. Across the room, Sloane sat in a chair, pale, shaking. When their eyes met, she burst out, "I didn't do anything. I swear I didn't." He turned his head away. "Get out." "Graham." "Get out," he roared, ripping the IV line from his arm. The nurse rushed in, restraining him gently. "Sir, please." But he wasn't listening. His voice cracked with rage and fear. "She did this. Lena, she did this." When Sloane fled the room in tears, the nurse exchanged a look with the doctor. "Call security," the doctor murmured. Hours later, the story hit the whispers of Manhattan gossip. Billionaire tech founder hospitalized after chemical accident. No details, no confirmation, just enough to feed curiosity. Meanwhile, in the quiet of her penthouse, Lena sat by the window, sipping tea. Maya's voice came softly over the phone. "It happened, Lena. He's in the hospital." Lena froze. "Is he okay?" "Alive," Maya said carefully. "But it's bad. Johnson confirmed the reaction. The police call it an accident." Lena's fingers tightened around the teacup. "I never wanted him hurt." I know, Maya replied. You just wanted the truth. Outside, the storm had cleared. The skyline shimmered again, cleansed by rain. Lena touched her belly gently, whispering, "The truth always burns, doesn't it?" Cliffhanger. At that exact moment, her phone buzzed again, Graham's name flashing across the screen. He was calling from the hospital. The morning after the hospital incident, Manhattan woke like nothing had happened. The skyline gleamed, oblivious. But inside Lenox Hill Hospital, whispers rippled through sterile hallways and glass corridors. The staff had seen enough powerful men crash and burn to know this story would travel fast. Graham Whitaker, the untouchable billionaire, the golden name behind a dozen tech startups, was now just another patient behind a privacy curtain, his empire reduced to painkillers and shame. He lay in the bed, eyes half open, tubes taped to his arm. His face was pale, his jaw tight. Every movement sent pain shooting through his body. A nurse adjusted his IV. "Try to rest, sir," she said gently. But rest was impossible. Every breath reminded him of what he'd lost. Not just comfort, but power. The kind of power that made people stand when he entered a room. Through the door's narrow glass panel, Sloane Carter stood in the hallway, sunglasses hiding her swollen eyes. She'd spent the night crying, terrified the story would leak. When she finally stepped inside, Graham turned his head away. "I just wanted to see if you were okay," she whispered. "Do I look okay?" His voice was hoarse, filled with venom. "You ruined everything." "Me?" Her voice rose slightly. "I didn't do anything. You're the one who—" He cut her off. "Get out, Sloane. Don't make me call security." She froze, trembling. "You're blaming me for something you did to yourself?" But he didn't answer. His silence was enough. When she left, the nurse closed the curtain and muttered under her breath, "Another rich idiot who thought he was immortal." By noon, the gossip blogs had it. Anonymous source, Manhattan billionaire hospitalized after intimate mishap. No names, but the clues were obvious. An exclusive car brand, a penthouse on Park Avenue, a charity gala postponed due to personal matters. Across the city, Lena sat by her window. The papers spread across the table, her tea untouched. She read the headline again and again. She should have felt triumphant. She should have felt justice. Instead, she felt hollow. When Maya arrived, she didn't knock. She just walked in, her heels clicking sharply on the marble. "It's everywhere," she said softly. "He's trending on Twitter under Billionaire burn." Lena flinched. "God." Richard called, Maya continued. The reaction was exactly what he expected. "The police say it's accidental. There's no legal risk to you." Lena set the paper down. "I didn't mean for this. I just wanted proof. Not this." Maya knelt beside her, voice low but steady. "Listen to me. You didn't do this. His choices did. The truth simply came for him." Lena stared out the window. Down below, taxis honked and people hurried through the streets, chasing lives that made sense. She pressed her hand against her belly, whispering, "I just wanted to protect you." That afternoon, Ethan Reed called. His tone was calm, grounded. "I heard about Graham," he said. "You okay?" Lena hesitated. "I don't know what I am." He paused. "You're free, whether you feel it or not. That's what matters now." For the first time in days, she exhaled without shaking. "Thank you, Ethan." Later, as the city lights blinked alive one by one, she stood by the balcony watching Manhattan breathe under the dusk. The city had always been ruthless, but somehow tonight it felt quieter, as if it were holding its breath with her. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. She answered. A faint voice came through the line, raw and slurred. "You think you've won?" Her pulse froze. "Graham?" A weak laugh followed. "Enjoy it while it lasts. Everything I built, everything you touch, belongs to me. Even your pity." She hung up before he could say more. Her hands trembled, but her eyes were steady. She whispered to herself, "Not anymore." Cliffhanger. At that same moment, Ethan's assistant sent her a text. Someone leaked hospital footage to the press. Tomorrow, everyone will know his name. By the next morning, the damage was everywhere. Graham's name wasn't a rumor anymore. It was a headline. Tech mogul Graham Whitaker hospitalized after chemical incident at Ritz-Carlton. The New York Post splashed it across the front page. CNN picked it up by noon. His company's stock dropped 6 points before lunch. Inside the hospital, chaos reigned. Lawyers, PR agents, and assistants crowded the corridor outside his private suite, whispering in frantic tones. Every one of them had the same question. Can this be contained? But the truth was already loose. Graham sat upright in his bed, pale and exhausted, his left hand wrapped in gauze. His lawyer, a sharp man with a slicked-back haircut, stood at the foot of the bed flipping through a folder. "We're doing damage control," he said briskly. "You'll issue a statement, call it an allergic reaction, nothing more. The writs will cooperate, but we need to talk about your wife." Graham's eyes hardened. "What about her?" "She's not talking, but if anyone connects this to a domestic dispute, you're done. Your prenup won't save you if she goes public. The board is already asking questions." Graham's jaw clenched. "Lena wouldn't dare." The lawyer hesitated. "I wouldn't bet your empire on that." Across the city, in the calm of Maya's law office, Lena sat beside her sister, watching the live news feed. The anchor's voice echoed. "Sources say the billionaire's wife has declined to comment." Maya muted the TV. "Good. Keep it that way." Lena's hands shook. "They're calling it an accident." "That's the narrative we want," Maya said evenly. "It keeps you safe. Richard's report shows the gel was harmless under normal conditions. You did nothing illegal, Lena. Nothing." "I didn't mean to hurt him." "I know," Maya said softly. "But he was already hurting you. All this did was expose it." Lena leaned back, tears burning her eyes. "They'll come after me. I heard his voice last night. He sounded angry, delusional." "That's fear," Maya replied. "Powerful men lose their minds when they lose control. But you have the advantage now, legally and morally. You stay quiet, we stay strategic." The office door opened and Ethan Reed stepped in, holding a folder. He nodded politely to Maya, then turned to Lena. "You need to see this," he said. Inside were printouts of emails, contracts, and internal memos from Graham's company. Ethan tapped one page. "He's been moving assets for months, shell corporations, offshore accounts. He knew this day was coming." Maya's eyes narrowed. "That's financial fraud if he hid those during the prenup period." Ethan nodded. "I can get you access through my corporate attorneys." Quietly, "The board is in panic mode. If we file a motion to freeze the transfers now, we can secure the estate for Lena and the baby." Lena stared at the papers. "I never wanted his money." "This isn't about money," Ethan said. "It's about security, about not letting him use it to destroy you." Maya picked up her pen. "Let's draft the petition." For the next 2 hours, the room filled with the rhythmic sound of typing, printing, signing. Lena watched the skyline darken beyond the glass window, each signature feeling like a piece of her old life being sealed away. At 7 p.m., Maya hit send on the final document. "It's filed," she said. "From this moment, Graham can't move a cent without court approval." Lena exhaled, trembling. For the first time in weeks, she felt protected. But peace didn't last long. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She answered instinctively. "Mrs. Whitaker?" a man's voice said. "This is Detective Collins from NYPD. We're investigating the incident at the Ritz. Your husband claims the chemicals were tampered with. He's naming you." Lena's heart stopped. "What? I need you to come in tomorrow for a statement." She hung up, her face pale as marble. Maya grabbed her arm. "Lena, breathe. He's bluffing. We'll handle this." Ethan's voice was calm but firm. "If he's turning this into a legal war, he's desperate. And desperate men make mistakes." Lena looked out the window, watching the city lights flicker like dying stars. Cliffhanger. In the hospital, Graham smirked at his lawyer. "If I go down, she's coming with me." The next morning, Manhattan glittered under the pale sun, but Lena's world had narrowed to a single thought. "He's accusing me." She stood by the penthouse window, still in her robe, staring down at the busy streets that once felt like home. Now they looked like a maze she had to survive. Her phone buzzed with messages she didn't want to read, calls from journalists, unknown numbers, and one from Graham's lawyer. "We urge you to cooperate and avoid escalating this publicly." "Escalating," she whispered bitterly. "He destroys our marriage, our peace, and I'm the one escalating." Maya arrived minutes later, her heels sharp against the marble floor. She looked exhausted but composed, legal folder in hand. "I talked to Detective Collins. You're not under suspicion, yet. But Graham's making noise." Lena swallowed hard. "He's trying to make me look crazy." Maya nodded. "It's what men like him do when they lose control. We'll stay ahead of it. You're meeting with the detective tomorrow, with me present. Nothing you say leaves that room." Lena nodded, though fear gripped her chest. "He'll ruin me, Maya. He'll take everything." Maya took her hands gently. "He's already taken enough. Now we take back the rest." At that moment, a soft knock came at the door. When Lena opened it, Ethan stood there in a navy coat holding a paper bag. "You didn't eat breakfast," he said simply. Inside the bag was a croissant and a note that said, "Strength doesn't always roar." Lena smiled faintly. "Thank you." He nodded. "Maya filled me in. I've seen men like Graham panic. They always make one fatal mistake when their ego's bleeding. We just have to wait for his." Maya looked up from her phone. "We're freezing his accounts today. He's hiding money offshore, and the judge just signed the temporary order." "Good," Ethan said. "Let's see how he likes being powerless." Lena listened quietly, her hands wrapped around the warm paper cup of coffee he'd brought. For the first time in days, her pulse steadied. The child inside her kicked, gentle but strong, like a reminder that she wasn't just fighting for herself. That afternoon, she packed her essentials: clothes, prenatal vitamins, her design sketches, and a single photo from their wedding day. The rest could stay behind, along with the lies. When she walked out of the penthouse, the doorman looked surprised. "Mrs. A. Whitaker, are you traveling?" She managed a calm smile. "Just taking a break." She moved into a temporary apartment near Central Park, arranged by Maya. Smaller, quieter, warm. The scent of fresh paint still lingered in the air. She opened the windows, letting in the breeze. Freedom, fragile but real, entered with it. That night, she sat at the table with Maya and Ethan. Papers spread everywhere, signatures ready. Maya spoke first. "The separation filing goes in tomorrow. Once it's public, the court will order joint mediation. His accident won't protect him from accountability." Lena nodded, signing her name slowly. "He'll hate me for this." Ethan's voice was gentle. "Let him. Hatred is just fear in disguise." Maya added, "This isn't revenge, Lena. It's restoration." She smiled faintly. "Maybe it's both." As the evening settled, Lena looked out the window at the park lights flickering between the trees. She felt something she hadn't felt in months: control. Her phone buzzed. It was Graham. Against her better judgment, she answered. His voice was strained, angry. "You think you can humiliate me? You'll regret this." She exhaled softly. "No, Graham, I regret ever believing you loved me." Before he could respond, she hung up and turned off the phone. For a long time, she just sat in silence, her hand resting over her belly. "We're safe now," she whispered. Outside, the wind howled against the windows, but for once, it didn't scare her. It sounded like the city applauding her courage. Cliffhanger. At that same moment, in the hospital, Graham's lawyer entered his room and said, "You might want to sit down. Your wife just froze every account in your name." For a brief moment, peace settled over Lena's world. It was the kind of quiet that made you think maybe, just maybe, the worst was finally behind you. The small apartment near Central Park smelled like lavender and new beginnings. Morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and warm. She was 6.5 months pregnant now. The baby kicked more often, stronger each day, as if reminding her there was still beauty left in the world. But peace, she learned, never lasted long when your past wore a billion-dollar suit. At 9 a.m., Maya arrived with fresh coffee and a grim expression. "We have a problem," she said. Lena set down her cup. "What now?" "The gala," Maya said. "Graham's PR team just announced it's back on. Same date, same location, the Plaza Hotel. They're calling it a celebration of resilience." Lena laughed bitterly. "Resilience?" He nearly destroyed himself. "Exactly," Maya replied. "He's rewriting the story, playing victim. The narrative is that he was poisoned, recovered, and now he's stronger than ever. He's spinning your silence into guilt." Lena's heart sank. "He's going to make me the villain." "Only if we let him," Maya said. She opened her laptop, showing Lena a draft headline from an online outlet. "Billionaire's wife withdraws from public eye amid scandal." Ethan joined them a few minutes later, dressed in a gray suit, calm as ever. He placed a manila folder on the table. The board's divided. Half believe Graham, half want him out. He's desperate to prove control again, and the gala's his lifeline. Lena looked up slowly. "Then maybe it's time the world meets the truth." Maya hesitated. "Lena, you don't need to confront him in public. You've already won the legal ground." "This isn't just about money," Lena said, her voice trembling but strong. "It's about dignity. He's trying to erase me, to make me look like a bitter wife hiding behind lawyers. I won't let him write the ending." Ethan studied her quietly. "If you go, you have to be ready for war. No emotion, no mistakes. You show up with facts, not tears." She nodded. Then help me prepare. They spent the afternoon rehearsing, every question, every response. Maya walked her through possible press ambushes, potential provocations. Ethan coached her posture, tone, and presence. When you walk in, he said, you'll be the calmest person in the room. That's how power looks. By evening, the skyline outside glowed orange and pink. Lena stood by the window in a black maternity dress, simple but elegant, one she hadn't worn since before the chaos. She slipped on small pearl earrings, her mother's, and exhaled. Maya packed the evidence folder into her briefcase. The photos, the receipts, the legal filings. Everything we need if things go south, she said. Lena smiled faintly. It already did. Now it's time to rebuild. As they left the apartment, the city buzzed below. Honking taxis, glowing billboards, laughter from sidewalk cafes. For everyone else, it was just another night in Manhattan. For Lena, it was the night she would reclaim her name. Meanwhile, at the plaza, Graham rehearsed his speech in front of a mirror. His bandaged hand trembled slightly as he adjusted his tie. Tonight, he told his reflection, I remind them who I am. But when his assistant entered, pale-faced, she stammered, Sir, Mrs. Whitaker RSVP'd to the gala. He froze, the color draining from his face. She what? She's on the guest list, with counsel. Graham's jaw clenched. Then let her watch me win. Back at the apartment, as the car pulled away, Maya glanced at Lena. You sure you're ready for this? Lena looked out the window, her hand resting on her belly. He took enough from me already. Tonight, I take back my story. Cliffhanger. From her phone screen, a live headline flashed. Exclusive, Graham Whitaker to make a major announcement tonight. Beneath it, a single photo, him smiling beside Sloane Carter. The chandeliers of the Plaza Hotel glowed like constellations above a sea of black tuxedos and glittering gowns. Laughter floated through the grand ballroom, but beneath it, tension hummed, a quiet electricity waiting to strike. Manhattan's elite had gathered for a celebration of resilience, Graham Whitaker's miraculous comeback after scandal. They drank his champagne, smiled at his lies, and whispered behind his back. At the far end of the room, under the golden light, Graham stood tall in his tailored suit, every inch of him curated to perfection. His left hand was wrapped discreetly in a designer glove to hide the burn scars. His smile didn't waver. To the crowd, he was a phoenix reborn. To himself, he was a man cornered. Good evening, everyone, he said into the microphone, his voice smooth, practiced. They say adversity reveals who we truly are. Tonight, I stand before you stronger, thanks to the support of those who believed in me. Applause followed. Cameras flashed. A line of reporters waited near the red-carpeted stage, and in that moment, Graham almost believed his own performance. Almost. Then he saw her. Across the ballroom, Lena entered, graceful and calm, dressed in a sleek black gown that traced her pregnant form with elegance. The crowd turned like a wave, whispers rippling through the air. That's her, the wife, the scandal. Her presence silenced the room more effectively than any speech. She didn't hurry, didn't hide. Every step was deliberate. Her hand rested on her belly. Her eyes met Graham's and didn't flinch. Maya walked beside her, professional and steady, briefcase in hand. Ethan followed a few steps behind, not as a protector, but as quiet support, the kind that didn't need words. Graham froze for half a second, the mask slipping. The flash of fear in his eyes was small, but Lena saw it. She always did. Mrs. Whitaker, a reporter called, microphone extended. Are you here to support your husband's charity? Lena stopped. Her calm voice carried through the room. No, she said softly, I'm here for the truth. The words sliced the air. Gasps spread like wildfire. Graham's smile faltered. His PR manager paled. Cameras turned from him to her. Darling, Graham said quickly, forcing a laugh. What a surprise. You should have told me you were coming. I wanted it to be a surprise, she replied, her tone even but cold. The host stammered, unsure whether to continue the event. Maya leaned toward her sister, whispering, Not yet. Let him speak first. Graham cleared his throat. As I was saying, he began, this foundation, but his voice trembled just slightly. He could feel the attention shifting, his control slipping. Lena watched him from across the room, remembering every night she cried in silence, every lie he told without blinking. And now, under the golden chandeliers and expensive laughter, he was sweating. Ethan stepped closer to her, murmuring, You've already won, Lena. You don't need to destroy him. Her gaze stayed on Graham. I'm not destroying him. I'm just done protecting him. Across the room, a young journalist whispered to another, "This is better than any press release." When the lights dimmed for the evening's main presentation, Graham's PR manager rushed to him. "Sir, social media's blowing up, her photos everywhere." "Then shut it down," he hissed. "You can't," the manager whispered. "She's trending, Lena Whitaker truth." Graham's pulse spiked. His empire, his reputation, everything was slipping again, right in front of the city that once worshipped him. Meanwhile, Lena moved toward the back exit, ready to leave before confrontation turned ugly. But then, a voice from the stage stopped her. "Before the night ends," Graham said, regaining his composure, "I'd like to thank my wife for joining us." All eyes turned to her again. He extended a hand, fake smile plastered on his face. "After all," he said into the microphone, "forgiveness is the cornerstone of resilience." The audience applauded politely, but Lena didn't move. She simply looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Forgiveness," she said clearly, "is for those who stop lying." The ballroom froze. Cliffhanger. A loud ping echoed through the speakers. Maya's phone notification. She looked down, her eyes widening. "Lena," she whispered. "The court order came through. The assets are frozen. He's officially broke." The ballroom fell into a strange, trembling silence. Dozens of faces turned toward the stage, cameras ready, breaths held. Lena's last words, "Forgiveness is for those who stop lying," hung in the air like thunder waiting to strike. Graham Whitaker's smile cracked, a twitch at the corner of his mouth betraying the panic beneath his charm. He tried to laugh, the sound brittle. "My wife has quite a sense of humor," he said, forcing his voice into something light. But no one laughed. Maya stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. "This isn't about humor," she said clearly. "This is about evidence." Gasps rippled through the room. The projector screens, intended for Graham's foundation presentation, lit up as Maya connected her laptop. A folder appeared on the massive display. "Whitaker proofs." "Wait, what are you doing?" Graham snapped, his composure slipping. Maya didn't answer. She clicked the first file. The image appeared. A photo of Graham and Sloane entering the Ritz-Carlton suite, time-stamped, undeniable. Then another, the Tiffany receipt, the bracelet engraved, "To SC Forever, GW." Whispers turned into a storm. Reporters raised their phones, flashes burst. Graham stumbled back from the podium. "This is illegal," he barked. "You can't just—" "It's all legally obtained," Maya interrupted coolly. "Your wife chose silence for weeks, but tonight you tried to use her name to clean yours." The next slide appeared, a forensic UV photo, his hand glowing faint blue under light, time-stamped the night of the accident. The audience gasped louder this time. Even the band stopped playing. Ethan stood quietly near the back, watching the chaos unfold with calm, unreadable eyes. "Mr. Whitaker," a journalist shouted, "is this why you were hospitalized?" Cameras snapped like gunfire. Lena stood still, her hands resting gently on her belly. She didn't look at Graham, not yet. She looked at the crowd, the investors, the donors, the people who once praised him. She wanted them to see what she had seen for years. The mask. Graham's voice rose, desperate. "This is defamation. You think you can humiliate me in front of my colleagues?" Lena finally turned to him. "You humiliated yourself the night you forgot your vows." The crowd murmured again, a collective exhale of disbelief and judgment. He tried to step forward, but a flash of pain from his healing injuries made him wince. For a moment, the powerful billionaire looked like what he truly was, small, frightened, and broken. Then, from the back of the room, a voice shouted, "You lied about your charity funds too." The entire ballroom erupted. Someone from his own board had spoken. Ethan's contact, a silent ally, had chosen that moment to strike. Maya switched the slide again. Emails from Graham's foundation misallocating donations to offshore accounts. His charity was a front. Lena didn't need to say another word. The evidence spoke louder than any speech could. Graham's breathing quickened. "You'll pay for this," he whispered through clenched teeth. "You think this makes you righteous? You've destroyed everything." She met his gaze, steady and calm. "No, Graham, I just stopped protecting the man who destroyed himself." Security began ushering reporters out as the ballroom dissolved into chaos. Camera lights flashing, voices shouting questions, PR agents screaming into phones. Graham slumped into a chair, sweat streaking his temple. The world he built on arrogance and secrets was collapsing before his eyes. Maya gathered the documents back into her briefcase, her tone soft as she turned to Lena. It's over. Lena shook her head slowly. No, it's just ending the way it should have. As they exited through the service corridor, Ethan met them halfway, his eyes meeting Lena's. You did what he never could, you faced the truth. She gave a faint, tired smile. Truth doesn't scare me anymore. Outside, the Manhattan night was cold and bright, the city alive with headlines that would spread by dawn. Cliffhanger. Inside the ballroom, Graham's lawyer leaned close to him and whispered, "They've frozen your accounts, and the board just voted to suspend you." Graham's hand trembled as he muttered, "Then she really took everything." By dawn, the story had gone global. Every major outlet ran the same headline: Billionaire Graham Whitaker exposed, fraud, infidelity, and a night that ended in flames. His empire, once worth billions, was bleeding faster than his lawyers could patch it. The Plaza Gala disaster became the clip of the year. Video snippets of his humiliation played on every screen, from Wall Street to tiny diners in Brooklyn. People watched, rewound, replayed. The powerful man who thought he owned the city was now the city's favorite tragedy. Inside his penthouse, the curtains were drawn tight. Graham sat at his desk, surrounded by empty bottles and crumpled newsprint. The room that once echoed with luxury now smelled of whiskey and despair. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from investors, journalists, board members, and finally, silence when they all gave up. He threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the marble floor. On the table lay a single envelope, his official termination letter from Whitaker Global Holdings. The board had voted him out unanimously. Even the men he once called brothers had turned their backs. He poured another drink, staring at his reflection in the dark window. "You built this city," he muttered to himself. "You made them rich." But his voice cracked halfway through. The truth was brutal. The city didn't care who built it. It only remembered who fell. Meanwhile, across town, Lena stood in her new apartment, sunlight streaming through clean white curtains. She was dressed simply, no makeup, no designer labels, just herself. Maya stood beside her, reading from her tablet. "The court approved the emergency motion," she said. "You have full control of joint assets until the trial. He can't touch anything without authorization." Lena nodded slowly. "And the foundation?" "Frozen. The board replaced him overnight. They'll probably rename it." Lena looked out at the park below. Joggers, children, a world still turning. "Good," she said softly. "Maybe something honest can grow where he poisoned everything." Maya smiled faintly. "You really don't want revenge, do you?" Lena shook her head. "I already got it. Watching him face the truth, that's more than enough." That afternoon, her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press accept. A weak voice came through the line. "Lena," her breath caught. "Graham?" His voice was slurred, exhausted. "They took everything. The company, the board, the accounts. You won. Are you happy now?" She closed her eyes. "I wasn't trying to win, Graham. I was trying to survive." He laughed bitterly. "Survive? You destroyed me." "You destroyed yourself," she said quietly. "I just stopped pretending it wasn't happening." Silence. Then a long exhale. "You think you're better than me now because you have the money, the pity?" Lena's voice didn't waver. "No, Graham, I'm better because I can still sleep at night." He didn't respond. The line went dead. She stared at the phone for a moment, then set it down gently. That evening, news broke that Graham had been served with multiple lawsuits: fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and defamation. Reporters swarmed his building, flashing cameras catching a broken man hiding behind tinted glass. His lawyer quit that night. His mistress, Sloane, issued a statement distancing herself entirely. "I was manipulated," it read. "He lied to everyone, including me." The city that once worshipped him now tore him apart for sport. Hashtags trended. Whitaker fall, Lena wins, Carmen Couture. Meanwhile, Lena sat by her window watching the sunset. Ethan arrived with 2 cups of coffee and a calm smile. "You saw the news?" She nodded. "I saw enough." "You okay?" he asked gently. She exhaled. "I don't know. I thought justice would feel lighter." "It never does," he said, sitting beside her. "But it feels real." She looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time. The steadiness in his eyes, the absence of manipulation, the quiet strength. Outside, the city glowed golden, as if forgiving her for ever believing in its false kings. Cliffhanger. In his dark penthouse, Graham stared out the window, whispering, If she took my empire, I'll take her peace. His reflection smiled, a man planning one last desperate move. 3 weeks passed. The chaos of the headlines began to fade, replaced by newer scandals and louder stories. In Manhattan, everything burned bright and died fast. But for Lena, the silence that followed was both blessing and curse. Her days had a rhythm now. Morning walks through Central Park, prenatal checkups, tea instead of coffee, long quiet afternoons sketching furniture designs for a project she hoped to relaunch after the baby came. She was learning to exist again, not as Mrs. Whitaker, not as a victim, but simply as herself. On a crisp Tuesday morning, she met Ethan at a corner cafe on Madison Avenue. The place smelled like espresso and rain. He was already there, reading the New York Times on his iPad. When he saw her, he smiled, a genuine smile, the kind she hadn't seen from a man in a very long time. "You look different," he said as she sat down. "Peace suits you." She laughed softly. "Peace feels strange. I keep waiting for something to explode." "Nothing's going to explode," he said. "You walk through fire. There's nothing left to burn." They ordered breakfast, oatmeal for her, black coffee for him. For a while, they talked about normal things. Art exhibits, the weather, Ethan's rescue dog who hated thunderstorms. For the first time in months, the conversation wasn't about lawyers, evidence, or headlines. But beneath the calm, part of her still feared the storm. "He's been quiet," she said finally. Ethan nodded. "His accounts are frozen, his company's gone, he's not a threat anymore." "Not a threat," she repeated. "But he's still out there, angry, broken." He looked at her gently. "You can't heal if you keep looking over your shoulder." She took a breath and looked out the window. The city was alive again, street vendors shouting, taxis honking, people living. She'd forgotten how good life sounded when it wasn't filtered through fear. After breakfast, Ethan walked her home. Outside her building, he hesitated. "You know," he said, "when I first met you I thought you were fragile, but now I realize you were just gathering strength." Lena smiled. "I think I'm still gathering it." He nodded. "That's the thing about strength, it doesn't end, it evolves." When he left, she stood in the lobby for a long moment before taking the elevator up. Her apartment was filled with light, the scent of fresh flowers drifting from the vase on the table. She sat by the window, opened a book, Atomic Habits, and underlined a sentence. "Every action is a vote for the person you want to become." That afternoon, Maya dropped by with takeout and updates. "The divorce hearing's next month," she said. "You don't have to appear. It's a done deal." Lena looked relieved. "And Graham?" Maya sighed. "He's losing everything. Real estate, endorsements, reputation. But don't worry, he's being watched. Any attempt to harass or contact you will trigger a restraining motion." Lena nodded. "I'm not afraid of him anymore." "That's good," Maya said softly, "because fear is what kept him powerful." They ate in silence for a while, watching the sunset over Central Park. When Maya left, Lena stayed by the window, tracing the golden skyline with her eyes. The city that once broke her now glowed like a promise. At 9 p.m., she received a message from an unknown number. Her heart jumped before she opened it. But it wasn't Graham. It was Ethan. "You left your scarf at the cafe. I can drop it off tomorrow. Or maybe I can just take you for coffee again?" Lena smiled. For the first time, the idea of saying yes didn't feel scary. It felt right. She replied, "Coffee sounds good." Then she turned off the phone and placed her hand over her belly. "We're okay, baby," she whispered. "We're really okay." Outside, the night air hummed softly through the trees. Somewhere far away in a dark penthouse that once symbolized power, Graham sat alone, watching the city lights he no longer owned. "Cliffhanger," he muttered to himself. "If I can't have peace, neither can she." And in that single whisper, the storm began to stir again. It began quietly, the way all storms do. Just a feeling in the air, a whisper that something was coming. 2 months had passed since the gala. Lena's life had settled into calm. The baby's nursery was nearly finished. Pale yellow walls, soft white curtains, and a rocking chair by the window. She'd finally learned to sleep through the night again, but peace never lasts when someone refuses to let go. That Thursday evening, she was preparing dinner when the doorbell rang. It wasn't Maya. She never came unannounced. It wasn't Ethan either. He always texted first. She hesitated before opening the door. A man stood in the hallway, a delivery uniform, clipboard in hand. "Package for Miss Whitaker," he said. Her heart skipped. No one had called her that name in weeks. "It's Mrs. Lena Hayes now," she said softly, remembering she had gone back to her maiden name. The man blinked, confused. Signature, please." She signed, took the small box, and watched him walk away. Something about it felt wrong. The label had no sender, just her old address. She set it on the counter, staring at it for a long moment. The box was light, too light. Carefully she opened it. Inside was a single object, his Mont Blanc pen, the one Graham had carried everywhere. And beneath it, a note in his handwriting, "We're not done." Her breath caught. The room spun for a second. She dropped the pen, backing away. That night she called Maya. "He sent something," she said, her voice shaking. Maya's tone hardened. "I'll contact the precinct first thing tomorrow. Don't engage, don't reply. I'll have someone check your building security." Lena looked around her apartment, the shadows stretching longer than usual. "He knows where I live." "I doubt it," Maya said, though her voice betrayed doubt. "He's bluffing. He wants to scare you." After the call, Lena couldn't sleep. Every creak in the walls made her heart race. At midnight, she finally got up, walked to the balcony, and stared out at the glowing city below. "You can't touch me anymore," she whispered to the night, trying to convince herself. The next morning, Ethan stopped by with coffee. One look at her face, and his calm expression changed. "You didn't sleep." "He sent me this," she said, showing him the box. Ethan examined the pen carefully. "This isn't just intimidation. He's testing you, to see if you'll react." Lena's voice trembled. "What if he's planning something worse?" "Then we stay ahead of him," Ethan said firmly. "I'll have my security team review the building's footage." Maya arrived half an hour later, her usual composure replaced with fierce determination. "I spoke to the detective. A restraining order is already in process. He's violating the settlement by contacting you." Lena stared at the box again. "He won't stop, will he?" "No," Maya said. "Not until someone makes him." Ethan glanced at both sisters. "Then maybe it's time we stop playing defense." That afternoon, Lena stayed home, the blinds drawn. She sat in the nursery, running her fingers over the soft blanket folded in the crib. "I promised I'd protect you," and she whispered to her unborn child. "And I will." The phone buzzed again, an unknown number. This time she didn't answer, but a voicemail came seconds later. She pressed play. It was Graham's voice. Slow, cold. "You think I'm finished, Lena? You took everything from me? You think you get to live happily ever after? I still have one thing you can't freeze, my anger." She dropped the phone, trembling. That night she stayed awake by the window until sunrise, clutching her belly, her heart pounding. The city lights flickered like warnings. Somewhere across the skyline, in a cheap downtown apartment, Graham poured whiskey into a chipped glass and watched the same sunrise. His eyes were hollow, his jaw tight. Cliffhanger. He whispered to himself, "If she rebuilt her life, I'll be there when it collapses again. This time I'll make sure she feels it." Winter came early that year. Central Park shimmered under a thin layer of snow, the air sharp and still. Lena stood by the window of her apartment, watching her breath fog the glass. The nursery behind her was ready now, soft music playing, toys neatly arranged, tiny socks folded in drawers. Peace had returned, but it was fragile, like glass. She could still feel the ghost of his voice whispering from that last voicemail. Maya had installed extra locks and a private security system. Ethan checked in every morning before heading to work. But the fear lingered, not because she doubted their protection, because she knew Graham. He was a man who couldn't let go of control, even after losing everything. At 7 p.m., Lena was setting the table for dinner when the lights flickered. The apartment went dark for 3 seconds, then came back. She froze. Her heart raced as she checked the window. Down below, the street lamps glowed normally. The power outage had been only hers. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Did you miss me?" She dropped the phone. Her mind screamed, "Not again." Within minutes, Ethan and Maya arrived. She'd called them the second she saw the text. Ethan went straight to the control panel, checking the circuit. "Someone tripped the main breaker manually," he said grimly. "That means they were inside the building." Maya dialed the police. "Detective Collins, it's urgent. He's escalating." Lena clutched her belly, trying to breathe evenly. "He's watching us," she whispered. "Not for long," Ethan said, his voice calm but cold. "I called my security detail. They'll sweep the area." Half an hour later, officers arrived. The building's surveillance confirmed everything. A man in a hooded coat had entered through the maintenance door at 6:52 p.m., gone to the electrical room, and vanished. They couldn't see his face, but Lena didn't need to. She knew. At 9:15 p.m., the police left after setting a 24-hour watch. Ethan stayed. Maya too? "You're not sleeping alone tonight," Maya said firmly. Lena nodded, though sleep was the last thing on her mind. She sat on the couch, rubbing her belly, whispering to the baby, "We're okay, sweetheart. Mommy's here." Ethan sat beside her. "You know," he said quietly, "some men don't understand that losing control is the end. They think it's a beginning." "He's not coming back from this," Lena said, her voice trembling. "No," Ethan agreed. "But sometimes they try one last time before the fall." Hours passed. The apartment fell quiet. Outside, snow began to fall heavier. The city glowed silver under the storm. Then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Maya grabbed her phone. Ethan stood, motioning for silence. He looked through the peephole, empty hallway. No one. But a voice came from the other side of the door. "Lena." Her blood ran cold. Ethan whispered, "He's here." The police were still outside, 2 floors down. Ethan signaled to Maya to call them silently. "Lena," Graham's voice came again, muffled but close. "I just want to talk. No cameras, no lies, please." Lena's eyes filled with tears. Not fear this time, but exhaustion. She walked to the door, placing her hand on the wood. "There's nothing left to say," she said softly. "Then listen," he growled. "You ruined me. You think you're free? You'll never be free." Sirens wailed in the distance. Ethan stepped between her and the door as officers burst from the elevator. Graham turned down the hall to run, but the police were faster. They tackled him, his voice echoing through the corridor. "She took everything. She's mine." Lena covered her ears, shaking. Maya pulled her close. "It's over," she whispered. "It's finally over." An hour later, the hallway was quiet again. Snow still fell. Ethan returned from speaking with the police. "He's in custody, no bail. It's done." Lena nodded slowly. For the first time, her shoulders relaxed. 3 weeks later, her baby was born. Elliot, healthy, strong, and peaceful. She held him in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks as sunlight filled the hospital room. Ethan stood beside her, smiling softly. "He looks like you," he said. "Let's hope he feels nothing like him," she replied with a small laugh. Outside, the city moved on. The scandal faded, replaced by new stories. But for Lena, peace wasn't silence. It was choosing to live again. Cliffhanger, final emotion. As she looked down at her son, she whispered, "We survived, my love. And no one will ever steal our peace again." The camera faded on the window, where the morning light finally broke through the snow. So, that's how our story ends. If you're still here right now, my friend, it means something in this story touched your heart in a way words can't quite explain. Maybe it reminded you that strength isn't about fighting louder. It's about standing taller when life tries to break you. Lena's journey wasn't just about betrayal or revenge. It was about rediscovering peace, the kind Marcus Aurelius once wrote about. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. We all have storms. We all have moments when the world feels unfair, when love turns to loss, when silence hurts more than words. But healing starts the moment you choose not to be defined by pain. Like Lena, you don't have to win every battle. Just refuse to surrender your soul. So if this story spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like, share it with someone who needs hope tonight, and subscribe to our channel. Because somewhere out there, another heart needs to remember. Peace isn't found, it's rebuilt, one quiet breath at a time.